Okay, this project I'm going to teach you how to put a bead on your line that you can move up or down. But anyway, I'm going to show you the process to do that. Now this is a soft bead. I prefer to fish with soft beads. I think it's much more natural for fish. They're not grabbing onto one of those hard beads like a trout bead, those companies that make them. I mean, for some people they work, and if they work, that's great for you, but I prefer the soft bead. It's more natural. And I've seen fish that hang on to that a lot longer than a hard bead that they just grab and turn loose of. Anyway, we'll show you how to do this, so stay tuned. All right, what I'm going to show you here is the very best way that I think exists for pegging a bead above your hook. Whether you're fishing for salmon or steelhead or trout or anything that you're going to suspend a bead on, I'm going to show you the method that I found that works better than any. There's a few things you're going to need. This is a silicone baster. I'll show you how this comes into play here in a minute. And I have a bunch of little round plastic beads. These are 5mm beads. What I have here is one of those Griffin threaders. I'll show you how that's going to work. And what we're going to use for our demonstration today is a magic crazy egg, and then of course I need some scissors. So let's get into this and I'll show you how I do this. Okay, the first thing is I'm going to pull out one of these magic eggs. Now you can see these have a little bit of a tail on them to help them wiggle around in the water and everything, and I don't utilize the tail. So what I do is I take a pair of scissors and I just cut that tail off and get rid of that tail. Now I have a hook here that I've snelled, and I'm not going to go through the process of that. There's enough videos out there that shows you how to snell them. This one's snelled with an egg loop or a bait loop, so I can put a piece of bait on there as well. What I'm going to do, so I'm going to get here to the end of the line, and I'm going to put on the bead first. The plastic bead. It's a 5mm bead. It works perfectly for these magic eggs. Now these magic crazy eggs, they have a hole in them for holding scent. That hole is going to work perfectly, not only for scent, but for suspending our bead. I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut my leader at an angle so it's a little bit sharp. I like to lick it just to lubricate it, and then I'm going to put the tag end of the tip of this leader into the hole of the magic egg and just wiggle it around, and I pop that through the back of the egg. Then I'm just going to slide that down on to my line. So you can see I have the hook, my plastic bead, and then the magic egg. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. So this silicone baster I buy at the dollar store. So you can just pop that off. Well, all these little silicone brush parts here work perfectly for what I want to do next. I'm just going to snip one of those off. I'm going to take my Griffin threader and I'm going to run it through the hole on my plastic bead. So you can see that. Got my hook, my threader goes through the bead, and then my rubber egg is up here. I'm going to take the small end of the baster and just clip it right onto that end of the threader. I like to wet it, the bead and the silicone, with some saliva. Then I'm going to pull the small end of that through my bead. Just pull it ever slowly and it'll pop through. Okay, so you can see I've got that silicone baster started through my bead. Now I just hold it and I slide that bead, or the baster, into the bead to where the fat end of that gets on there. Now you can see that goes through. Now I'm going to fold my line back, and you want to be careful here that you don't cut your line, but then I'm just going to snip off that portion of that, turn it around and snip off the large portion that's left. Being careful not to cut or scar your line. Now I'm going to wet that bead, and you can just pop that bead right inside of that hole on your rubber egg. And it's in there out of sight. You don't even know that bead is in there, but that holds your rubber bead in place better than anything that's out there. You know, a lot of people will use a toothpick in that plastic bead, or in your trout bead or those other hard beads. Toothpicks are great, but once you shove them in and they get wet, once they dry out, they shrink and they fall out. So you're constantly having to put new toothpicks in. This way here, that silicone never shrinks and it's always there. And I can adjust that up or down my line super easy. But I like to pin that bead about 1 3/4, 2 inches above my hook, and I'm ready to go for salmon or steelhead or trout. I've been doing this for about 15 to 20 years. It's worked great. It's kind of been a secret that I've kept. I like these eggs because it still leaves a hole there that I can put some scent in this egg, and it works really well. I buy these silicone brushes at the Dollar Tree for $1. That's my story that I'm sticking with. This works better than anything I've found so far. And if you found this interesting or helpful, you know the drill. Subscribe and give me a thumbs up. The next video I'm going to show you is how to peg a bead that doesn't have a hole in it already. Thanks for watching and good luck fishing. Tight lines.